My wife kissed me goodbye at 8:40 p.m., said she was off to the gym. 15 minutes later, she picked up her ex in our car. $11,215 missing from our joint account. I thought I was covering rent. I was covering them. 32 guests invited. To the lie, I didn't confront. I documented. Canceled the Florist. Filed a report. And when I got the detective's footage back, what I saw inside that second apartment broke something final. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Panda Tales. Subscribe now for daily interesting stories. Chapter 1. The Lie Behind the Legacy Wife. Kissed me goodbye at 8:40 p.m. They said she was off to the gym. 15 minutes later, she picked up her ex in our car. $11,215 missing from our joint account. I thought I was covering rent. I was covering them. 32 guests invited to the lie. I didn't confront. I documented. Canceled the Florist. Filed a report. And when I got the detective's footage back, what I saw inside that second apartment broke something final. You ever trust someone so completely, you don't even think to double-check the damage? That was me. That was how I loved her. My name's David. I'm 28. High school history teacher. Quiet guy. Routine guy. I believe in showing up on time, paying bills early, and building something real. So when Clara, my fiancée at the time, suggested we open a joint rent account for our first year together, I didn't hesitate. $1,950 a month. We'd split it. $975 each. Automatic. Seamless. She said. This way, we're equal partners. And I believed her. I remember the day we signed that lease. 1 bedroom, top floor. Just enough sun through the blinds to make it feel like home. She picked the unit because it had a view of the gym across the street. I picked it because she said, this is where we'll build the beginning. We unpacked boxes together. Hung up photos. Planned out where the couch would go. It felt right. Every month, I dropped my $975 into the account. Like clockwork. She always said she'd match it. I never asked for proof. Because asking would have felt like doubting. And I was in love. But then small things started to shift. Our internet got shut off one afternoon. She said it was a billing error. Then the building left a past due rent notice taped to our door. I laughed at first. Assumed it was a mistake. But Clara just said, oh, I paid late this month. Don't stress, babe. Still, something in my gut twitched. I checked our rent account for the first time in 5 months. My half was there. Every transfer, on time. Hers? Spotty, small amounts. Sometimes nothing at all. I asked her casually, hey, everything okay with your side of the payments? She kissed my cheek and said, ooh, my bank has been acting up lately. I'll fix it. Promise. So I let it go. Again. Because that's what you do when you're trying to be the good guy. Until one Thursday night, I was grading papers late and heard her phone buzz. It was face up on the counter. A text preview lit up the screen. Ethan, you still on for 9:15? I'll wait outside. Ethan. Her ex. The personal trainer she used to date before we met. The one she swore was toxic and barely functional without creatine. I didn't say a word. Just nodded when she said she was off to the gym. But something in me cracked open that night. Just enough to let the truth start crawling in. The next morning, I checked the joint account again. She had withdrawn $600 in cash 3 days earlier, and the same thing the week before. And again, on the first of the month right when rent was due. 3 pulls. Same amount. Same pattern. But our landlord still hadn't received full rent. So I checked our building's tenant portal, and that's when I saw it. The rent had only been paid in partial. Cash deposits. No e-checks. No bank transfers. All drop offs. All from her. Short every time. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just carelessness. This was deliberate. She wasn't forgetting. She was redirecting. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there next to her in silence, staring at the ceiling, trying to trace the moment she started choosing someone else. And I knew in my gut that this wasn't just about rent. This was something else. Someone else. And if I wanted the truth, I'd have to stop asking questions. And start collecting answers. Chapter 2. Withdrawals and Wednesday nights. Thing about betrayal is, it doesn't start with a crash. It starts with a tap. A faint little knock on the back of your brain that says, something's off. After seeing those partial rent payments. One didn't confront Clara. Not yet. Instead, I got quiet. And started watching. I opened our banking app again. Pulled every joint transaction for the past 5 months. Filtered by cash withdrawals. Then, I created a spreadsheet. Yes, a spreadsheet. Because sometimes heartbreak looks a lot like an Excel grid. Withdrawal dates, amounts, ATMs used. Pattern emerged. Fast, $600 to $950 pulled every last Wednesday of the month. Every time. Just before rent was due. But our rent never got paid in full. And guess what else happened every Wednesday? Her gym nights. She always left around 8:45 p.m. Said she needed time to decompress. I never questioned it. She came home sweaty, sometimes carrying protein bars, always tired. But now I knew I was paying for something I wasn't seeing. So I decided to see it. I went online and ordered a dash cam with night vision and audio. Clara used our shared car for her gym nights. Said the parking lot was safer. Fine. I installed the camera one Saturday while she was at brunch. Tucked it low, near the center console. Small, discreet, motion dash triggered. The next Wednesday, I waited. She left like clockwork. 9:14 p.m. car door opens. 9:17 p.m. he gets in. Ethan. Gym bag in hand. Hoodie up, sunglasses at night. But it was him. No doubt, they laughed. She kissed his cheek. They drove. I didn't sleep. I watched the entire feed 4 times. They stopped at a taco truck. He reached for her hand. She leaned on his shoulder. And then, just before they reached the apartment complex across town, she said, he still thinks I'm going to the gym. I'm just glad he's not the type to snoop. Snoop? I paid rent on time every month, washed her dishes, listened to her vent about work. Held her when she cried over her friend's breakup. And I didn't snoop. Until now. And what I found wasn't just infidelity, it was a system. I checked the GPS. On the dash cam, they parked at the same building 3 weeks in a row. Complex. Name, Riverstone Apartments. I googled it. Luxury place. Valet parking. Rent for a 1-bedroom. $2,300 month. So I called the leasing office. Said I was following up on a unit under review for a legal matter. They asked, are you calling about the lease under Clara Bellamy? Bellamy, her maiden name. Used. So it wouldn't ping our joint credit. I said, yes. They confirmed the unit was active. Paid in full. Paid in cash. That she was funneling money from our joint account to pay for a second apartment, his apartment, under her maiden name, while coming home to me. Every night. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even text her. I just kept watching. And kept collecting. Because if Clara wanted to live 2 lives, then she was going to face both of them. Chapter 3. The Secret. Apartment people say the worst kind of betrayal is emotional. But they've never walked through an apartment their wife paid for with their money for another man. I didn't knock. I didn't hesitate. I walked in like I belonged. Because technically, I did. The leasing manager thought I was Clara's husband. I didn't correct him. Just said we were dealing with some financial concerns and needed access. He handed me the keys without question. Unit 4C. Corner apartment. City view. As soon as I stepped in, the air hit me different. Not just because it smelled like cedarwood and cologne, but because it smelled nothing like our apartment. This wasn't a side space. This was home, just not mine. Photos weren't on the walls, but signs of life were everywhere. Gym bag by the door. Blender full of half-dried protein shake dumbbells in the corner. Opened Amazon package, resistance bands, and a handwritten note to our space. No more hiding love. See. My stomach turned. On the kitchen counter, a rent receipt, $2,300 paid in full. No card. No check. Just a note. Paid cash, signed Clara B. I took photos of everything. The lease agreement on the fridge, the pair of toothbrushes. The birthday card addressed to E, the same one I'd seen him holding on the dash cam. It was real. Not a fling. A second life. An entire duplicate relationship built using my half of our rent fund. On the nightstand was a typed sheet of paper. A workout plan with notes scribbled in her handwriting. Remind him to drink water, he always forgets. Protein bar at 3 p.m. Ask about new track, he's proud of it. I wanted to scream. But all I could do was stand there and ask myself, how long has she been building this without me noticing? I pulled out my phone. Matched dates from the dash cam. GPS log with the building security camera timestamps. Matched. Cash withdrawals from our joint bank account with rent dates. It all lined up. Month after month after month. I scrolled through my camera roll. Photos of us laughing, cooking, planning. Right next to screenshots of her secret lease. Her love notes to him. The contrast was nauseating. I stood in the center of that apartment and felt like I was visiting the graveyard of my own marriage, but I wasn't there to mourn. I was there to gather truth. And I had enough now. More than enough. Because betrayal isn't just about secrets. It's about funding someone else's fantasy while they convince you it's your own. I left the apartment, locked the door behind me, and emailed every document, photo, and timestamp to a folder titled Restitution. That night, Clara came home smelling like eucalyptus and sweat. She kissed me. Smiled. Said she was sore from her new aita class. I nodded. Said, you should get some sleep. And she did, just like every other night, sleeping peacefully beside the man she thought would never open his eyes. Chapter 4. $11,215 and counting. Once read that the difference between suspicion and certainty is evidence. And by now, I wasn't suspicious anymore. I was building a case. I spent that entire weekend turning every lie Clara told me into lines of data. First, the joint bank account. I exported the last 6 months of transactions, filtered for withdrawals. Then split them into 2 columns, legitimate expenses, and everything else. And there it was, $11,215, 6/3 withdrawn in cash, never used for our rent. Never explained, and every withdrawal was followed by a Wednesday night gym session. I color-coded the timeline. Yellow for cash outs, red for dash cam footage, blue for GPS locations, green for lease payments. They all aligned like dominoes. Falling, and at the bottom of the spreadsheet, I wrote one word: fraud. Because that's what this was. Not just infidelity, financial fraud, and I wasn't the only one who'd see it that way. So Monday morning, I walked into the local precinct with a folder and a thumb drive. Asked for someone in financial crimes. They paired me with Detective Soria. She was calm. Methodical. Didn single quotes T blink once as I laid out the timeline. When I told her Clara had signed the lease under her maiden name, her eyes narrowed. You have confirmation that the funds were shared? She asked. I handed over copies of the auto transfers. $975 from me. Every month. Time stamp. Undeniable. She nodded. This isn't a relationship issue, she said. It's theft. And just like that, the case became real. Clara didn't know it yet, but her little hideaway with Ethan had just become evidence. 3 days later, Detective Soria called me again. We picked him up this morning. Ethan Reed. Personal trainer. Full-time liar. Was already under suspicion for identity theft, using a client's credit card to buy gym equipment. They raided his unit, and in the process found stacks of envelopes, cash from Clara, notes she wrote, receipts signed in her handwriting. They gave him 2 options: talk or take the fall alone. He talked. Fast. Said Clara. Knew what she was doing. Said she covered the entire apartment. Said she promised to get more from me once we renewed the lease. Get more. That phrase echoed in my head. Not make more, not earn more, but get. As in take. As in steal. That night, I sat on our couch while Clara folded laundry in the bedroom. She was humming, like she hadn't turned our life into a maze of secrets. My phone buzzed. An email from Detective Soria. Subject line: statement recorded, ready for legal filing. I opened it. Inside, a full transcription of Ethan's confession. Clara handled everything. She paid the lease, the utilities. Said her husband was too passive to notice. She told me she'd drain him clean before the lease was up. Drain him clean. I stared at those words while Clara walked out, held up a shirt, and asked, does this need to be ironed? I smiled and said, nah, it looks good as it is. Because what was coming next was going to wrinkle everything. Chapter 5. The hallway meltdown. You never forget the sound of your name being screamed in a hallway that's supposed to be safe. It was a Thursday. 9:43, a .m. Third period had just started. Was handing out a quiz on the Cold War when I heard the door slam open. And then, David. Every head turned. The class froze. And there she was. Clara. Asterisk face flushed. Eyes wild. Hair in a half-tied mess. She was barefoot. Barefoot. She didn't even stop at the threshold. Just stormed into my classroom like a storm with a name. We need to talk, she snapped, right now. I calmly turned to my students. Everyone, stay seated. Quiz starts now, pencils only. I stepped into the hallway, closed the door behind me. What the hell do you think you're doing? She hissed. You reported me to the cops? You got Ethan arrested? Are you insane? I didn't say a word. You don't get to play victim now, she continued. You were never present. You were cold, emotionally unavailable. You pushed me into this. There it was. The pivot. The blame shift. The gaslight ignition. You think you're so clever, she sneered. Digging through accounts, spying on me. You think anyone's gonna believe you over me? They already do, I said softly, and handed her a printed copy of Ethan's signed statement. Her hands shook. She read the first few lines and then crumpled the paper. You're disgusting, she spat. You were supposed to love me, not destroy me. And that's when the principal stepped around the corner. Mr. Halston. Gray suit. Calm eyes. He didn't raise his voice. Mrs. Lewis, I'm going to ask you to leave school property immediately. If you refuse, will involve campus security. Clara turned to him, stunned. He's lying. He's abusive. He manipulated me. But Halston cut her off. We've reviewed the footage. The evidence. Your behavior is unacceptable. Leave, now. Her face twisted into something I didn't recognize. Not pain, not regret. Defeat. She backed away. Slowly. Eyes never leaving mine. You'll regret this, she whispered. You'll wake up alone. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. Just said, better alone than being robbed by someone who calls it love. She left. Barefoot, shaking, broken. I walked back into my classroom. Kids stared. I picked up the quiz papers, smiled and said, history teaches us one thing: empires fall when the truth gets loud. They laughed. And for the first time in months, so did I. Chapter 6, no more. Daughter's Herethi invitation came in a text. Mr. Bellamy, we'd like to speak, tomorrow, 6 p.m. our home. Short. Cold. Like something typed with teeth clenched. Heightened. Seen Clara's parents in months. Not since the engagement dinner, where her mom cried over our perfect union and her dad toasted to trust and transparency. The irony made me sick. I drove to their estate in silence. White pillars, black gates, backyard fountain still running like nothing had shattered inside their family. Mrs. Bellamy opened the door. Her makeup was perfect, except her eyes were swollen. She barely spoke. Just nodded toward the sitting room, where Mr. Bellamy waited in his armchair, hands steepled like a judge who already knew the verdict. He didn't ask how I was. He didn't ask what happened. He said, show me. I pulled out the manila folder. Laid it on the coffee table like a final exam. Inside: Ethan single quotes, S signed statement, bank withdrawal logs, lease agreement, with Clara's maiden name, screenshots of texts, logs and 2 photos. Clara kissing Ethan in the car. One time stamp. One without. They read in silence. Mrs. Bellamy's hand trembled. Mr. Bellamy didn't blink. After 5 full minutes, he leaned back, cleared his throat, and said, she told us you were controlling. She said you fabricated all this to punish her for being independent. She said the money was a miscommunication. I said nothing, just waited. He looked at his wife. Then back at me. We raised her to be better than this, he said. We clearly failed. Mrs. Bellamy spoke then. Softly. Double quotes, what happens next? I told them the truth. She was being offered a plea deal. 12 months probation. Restitution. Mandatory financial counseling. If she refused, it would go to trial. Mrs. Bellamy sobbed. Mr. Bellamy didn't flinch. We will not be covering her legal fees, he said. We will not be co-signing anything further. And we will not be bailing her out if she falls. I nodded. Stood up. And before I left, I said the one thing that had burned in my throat for months. You didn't fail her. She failed herself. They didn't argue. As I stepped out into the cool night air, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. From Clara. I didn't listen to it. I just deleted it. Because when someone's shown You who they are, again and again and again. Don't need closure, you just need distance. And as I pulled out of the driveway, I realized something. Her family hadn't disowned her because she lied. They cut her off. Because she made the mistake of doing it to someone who documented everything. Truth, when organized properly, becomes a weapon, and I had handed them the blade. Chapter 7. My rent bought someone a homite, ended quietly. No sirens. No screaming. Just a letter in the mail. Signed and sealed by the state. Clara Bellamy Lewis accepts plea agreement. 12 months probation. Restitution in the amount of $4,926.42. And mandatory financial counseling. I read it once. Then again. Then I folded it into a neat square and placed it on the WINDOWS. ILL. The same windowsill where she once left. Love notes. The amount wasn't all I lost, but it was something. And after everything she took, I wanted to use it to build something real. So I walked into a local housing nonprofit, Keys for Change. I knew the director. Sort of. A former student's mom. Told her everything. Not the affair. Not the drama. Just the truth. I want to donate this to help someone keep their home. She blinked. Looked at the check. Then back at me. You sure? She asked. This is almost $5,000. Yeah, I said. It was never mine to begin with. It just came back to the right hands. She hugged me. I didn't expect that. It felt like the first human contact I'd had that wasn't loaded with lies. That night, I packed the last box from the apartment. Just a duffel bag, my laptop, a coffee maker, and a photo of me alone on a trail up in Red Rock Canyon. I moved into a studio. No shared closets. No joint account. Just a key with my name on the lease. And silence. Not the scary kind. The peaceful kind. The kind that doesn't tiptoe. The kind that says, you are free now. I bought a new bed. A second-hand bookshelf. One plant. Named it Ethan. Because yeah, I have a sense of humor. And one night, while sipping coffee from a chipped mug, I wrote a line in my journal that I haven't stopped repeating since. She stole my rent, but she bought me a future. I don't stalk her online. Don't ask around. Don't listen to voicemails. Because I don't need to. Whatever version of herself she's trying to sell, now let her. I've got nothing to prove. Truth already did the talking, and when the dust settled, the one person left standing was the one she underestimated the most. Me. Not because I yelled. Not because I fought. But because I documented, waited, acted. And when it was over, one didn't buy revenge. I paid someone else's rent. Because while she built a lie with my money, I turned her deception into someone else's safety net. That's the power of walking away with your head high. Of not just surviving betrayal, but making it count.